think just interesting technology discussion about anything across the board, because I think I'm pretty much an expert on these things. So happy to have you. I'll turn it over to Adam.
Should we introduce ourselves?
Yeah, why don't we introduce ourselves real quick for your sake, and why don't you start, Chris?
Okay. Chris Faring. I'm with TransUnion, a credit information company.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
I do data licensing.
Awesome. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Dave Myers, I'm the founder of Office Key.
Yep. Know you.
Hi, my name's Terry, and my company is called Reveal Marketing, and I help Office Key with the social media and website.
Good morning, or afternoon, actually. My name is Monica Black. I work with Primerica Financial Services,
Okay.
and I'm a financial advisor.
All right. Cool.
And I'm Kim Waters, and I work for Office Key as an administrative assistant. Oh, administrative professional.
All right.
All right,
Cool.
Adam, the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right. Clip this on. And
Yep.
well, let's see. How's this go? Does that work?
Or even on your where your button is, or it's fine.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I'm sure it's down.
Yeah, so thanks everybody for coming. Topic like this, you never know if it's going to be a big crowd or a small crowd, because sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's not, but thank you for being here nonetheless. Before I get into the company, I just want to introduce myself quickly. My name is Adam Gross, founder and CEO of Novalis. We started off as Adam Gross Inc. Last few years we've been having some nice growth, so to kind of reflect that, we've been doing the rebrand. So the new name is Novalis, and my professional background, I've been just about everywhere over the years. Worked for several consulting firms and done a lot of contract work. I've basically spent the last 20 years in and out of data centers. So we do the technology thing quite well. My team is very heavy on the technical expertise. And, so about the company, kind of a multifaceted company. One of our functions, we're a value-added reseller. For folks that are not familiar with that term, that means we combine technology that we don't manufacture into solutions for our customers. We're also a managed services provider, which means for companies that have, technology management needs but don't want to hire staff, we can provide those services, from our team of resources. Managed security services, which will probably be something we spend a little bit of time on at the end. It's got a couple different names. Managed security services provider seems to be the main one now, MSSP. More and more we're seeing companies refer to it as CS, AAS, cybersecurity as a service. And once again, it's one of those things, to be able to provide those types of benefits to your company without having to hire the staff and buy the tools, et cetera. Cloud services provider. We'll get more into what the cloud is here in just a minute, but anything and everything pertaining to cloud, we can help you build one, help you pick a public cloud to use, help you with all manner of services. Professional services covers a wide range of things. We have customers where we have an advisory relationship, where we're in there purely consulting, just helping with the vision, helping navigate technology challenges. Even to engagements where we're operating as like a virtual CIO, virtual CISO, and training and staffing. Staffing is one of those things pretty much done to death. I think everybody knows. They call them headhunters. We do that, but we have a little bit of a different spin on it. First off, we charge a flat rate instead of a percentage. It's unusual in that space. And number two, I have a scorecard system that I've developed specifically applicable to the technology space, where we can vet people out with the highly skilled people that are on my team, but at the same time analyze them for soft skills, because in technology, technology is more and more becoming part of the business, day to day. So the soft skills are becoming very, very important. And lastly, training. I'm partnered up with a company that does a phenomenal job. It's Stormwind Studios is the name of the company. They have training material for everything, you name it. Love to connect people over there for those things. We do a couple of things in-house ourselves, just for some niche kind of things that really kind of need to be done one-off. Yeah.
Do you have a certain demographic of company that you work with, size or?
We don't. We don't. I personally, I like to focus on the small, medium business market. I've discovered over the last 4+ years now that it's a very underserved market. There's a lot of opportunities to do some great things for the small, medium business that, a lot of people just aren't out there catering to them for whatever reason. And I love working with them. It's like, a big conglomerate that's multinational that we work with. It's like, I'm never going to meet that CEO. But a small business that's in my backyard, like, we might go out to dinner. So it's more of a personal connection. I mean, not to say that I don't like the big accounts, but yeah. Oh, and by the way, anybody have a question at any point, feel free to shout out. I'm not going to expect you guys to, sit through all this technical stuff and hold your questions to the end. So if you have a question, please just speak up. This next slide just touches briefly on some of the partnerships we have. These are technology manufacturers, software creators that we work with their technology to build solutions for our customers. NetApp, Cisco, VMware, that's kind of the core of our data center game. They're best in breed of each thing. NetApp makes storage software. Cisco makes networking and compute hardware. And VMware is the virtualization layer that ties it all together. And we'll speak more about that in just a minute. One of the ones we're going to talk about a lot today, Office 365. For the small, medium business, there's no better way for you to have so many things taken care of in one place. Messaging, all your collaboration, all of your productivity, applications, just everything taken care of in one shot. Trend Micro, phenomenal security product that we'll talk about a little bit later. Anyway, our distributor relationships, we now have a total line card of approaching 400 brands. So whatever your technology needs are, we can definitely get it for you.
I don't see Google up there.
Oh, well,
Do you do things with Google?
we do. The Google Cloud Platform, I don't want to say anything negative, but it's not as mature as Microsoft and Amazon's cloud. So even though we work within it and we can help you get there, we leverage it currently more for multi-cloud, and I'll explain what that means here in just a minute. But as far as the primary place, we typically send our customers into the Microsoft Azure cloud. It's personal preference. There's a lot of points that you can argue back and forth between Amazon and Microsoft. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at the value and the quality of the product, the Microsoft Azure cloud is just the best bang for the buck. And, yeah. So, all right, I keep hearing about the cloud. What does it mean? So now there are 4 different kinds of cloud, so to further confuse you. Let me go through what they are. We've got the private cloud, and this is the one probably most people are familiar with. People are becoming familiar with the public cloud, but wherever you work, you know that your application lives in a data center somewhere. For all intents and purposes, that's your private cloud, and that's going to be built on a technology like VMware or maybe OpenStack or dozens of other open source options that are available. And what it consists of is a data center, basically a big room full of computers. Those computers are all tied together by a piece of software that enables the hardware to be removed from the equation, so to speak. So if I have a hard drive that fails, or if I have an entire server that fails, I don't suffer any loss to my applications or my users or data, anything. Everything just keeps on going. So the public cloud, Azure, AWS, Google, like you mentioned, these are clouds that are out there that anybody can use. Whereas your private cloud is yours. You own it, you live in it, your company, your resources use it. Public cloud, you're out there with other people. Like Microsoft Azure, for example, tens of thousands of companies have their stuff out there. And even though it's public, you still have, segregation. It's not like your data sits on top of somebody else's data and it commingles. It's all secured. Azure, in my opinion, is a little bit more simplified on the security. AWS can get complicated, but it's a matter of preference. AWS lets you kind of tweak some things if you really want to get down in the weeds. That Azure doesn't, but there's ways to get around that as well.
How are you spelling, what is it you're saying from Microsoft? Is it,
Oh,
how do you spell it?
right here, Azure. Some people pronounce it Azure. Some people say Azure. I don't think Microsoft said one way's right or wrong. So, yeah.
If you're using a subscription service, like
Mhm.
QuickBooks,
Right.
how do you define that cloud? Is that just a public cloud?
Well, I don't know where QuickBooks specifically stores their data, but either they have a private cloud of their own that they're allowing you a software as a service subscription to, or more than likely they have it in a public cloud somewhere. But it might be Azure, it might be AWS. I'm not really sure, but wherever it exists, yeah, it's going to be sitting in either one of those containers. Yeah.
Maybe I should have thought about the fact that you're talking about software as a service.
Yeah. So hybrid, that's just a mix of private and public. One of the common uses for this with like a retailer I've worked with, for example, most of their stuff runs on their private cloud, but they have certain parts of the year that they're really busy, and their private cloud gets hammered. Basically, there tons of web traffic and people purchasing Christmas presents and that sort of thing. So what they're able to do is called cloud bursting. So they take that front end that's getting its eyes beat out, and they move it to the cloud, where they can scale as large as they need to satisfy that need. And then once things calm down, it comes back. So that's one way to utilize that. Some companies, they'll have non-proprietary data out in the cloud. So like if something happens, they're not really concerned because it's just a website or whatever else, and they'll maintain all of their proprietary data, in a private cloud, so you can exist in both. And then the multi-cloud would be using 3 or more of these together. So you would have some on-prem on your private cloud. You would have something 2 or more of the public cloud. So you might have stuff in Azure, AWS, Google, and on-prem. And that would be a multi-cloud environment. So clear as mud, or does that make sense? All right, cool. All right, so software as a service. In a nutshell, that just references software that you have a subscription to. You don't have to, buy it off the shelf and install it and maintain it and patch it and all that. That's taken care of for you. You pay just for access to the software. A lot of stuff is going to that model now, just because it's easier, honestly, for the creators to do it that way. Scale infinitely without having to buy $1 million worth of data center equipment right up front.
Can you give an example of a SaaS?
Yeah, so QuickBooks would be a perfect example. Office 365, it's all software as a service, because you'll be going, out to the web to get Outlook, Word, Excel, etc., and that's all subscription based. Yeah.
Is it typically, seems like maybe this is, the generalization is not correct, but software as a service would be typically very valuable for smaller companies, where larger companies are going to have the money to invest in their own cloud structure, or is that maybe too broad of a
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. And that's something that's shifting. Like traditionally, the enterprise space has tried to do everything in-house. And I don't know if that's just just the way we've always done it, kind of a thing. They've got the huge budget, so they can spend the money. And you run into some folks, we call them server huggers. It's like they don't want to give up their servers and send stuff to the cloud because they think their job becomes obsolete. But it's not true. And people are starting to finally warm up to that. It's like the cloud's just, the next frontier, and we still need talented people that know what they're doing to, maintain and run these things. A lot of the stuff people hate doing, like patching servers, you don't have to do that anymore, which is great. But there's still tons of administrative work that has to be done every single day, So, yeah. And that spins us off into a couple other concepts. Infrastructure as a service, so if you want to have a server in the cloud, or several servers tied together to form an application, that would be a good example of infrastructure as a service. Platform as a service, similar concept, but it's more of an out-of-the-box solution as opposed to just infrastructure that I play with. So like if I wanted to buy, just going back to QuickBooks, and I don't think this is even an option anymore, so maybe it's a bad example, but if I wanted to buy their software and I only have access to my instance, if they had that offering, that would be, platform as a service. And last but not least, cybersecurity as a service. There's just a million of these acronyms now. They're even starting to say XAAS now, just because there's so many of them. Yeah. So just a sampling here of some of the cloud and SaaS options that are available today. Microsoft Office 365 being a huge one. I very highly recommend any business to consider using Office 365 instead of trying to do it in-house. With Office 365, you can take care of pretty much all of your Microsoft needs in one shot. So you get all of your Office software that you know and love. You get free updates to it. All the servers that run these back-end applications, that's taken care of for you. So you don't have to hire a bunch of staff to manage them and, patch them and, all that. It takes care of all your licensing as a result. New collaboration tools. Microsoft Teams is pretty new. It's amazing. And a lot of people don't know this, but Microsoft has a phone system that you can get as well. So you can do all of that in one place. Bless you. And it's, it's pretty amazing. It's a fantastic product. Cloud managed networking. We'll get into some examples for that in later slides, but we all have our networks. You've got a firewall, switch, wireless access points, security cameras. In the days gone by, you've had to have people come in and manage all that stuff for you. And to administer those devices, you've either got to be physically on site and log into it, or connect in through a VPN. Cloud managed networking, you can have a device anywhere in the world. It comes back to Cisco's data center or Fortinet's data center in the case of their products, and that's where all of its configuration is done. None of that has to be done locally anymore. So it simplifies things for a company. For example, you have all this networking equipment and you need to make a change or, shut something down or whatever. This is something that can be done in a course of about 60 seconds from anywhere in the world.
So what equipment does it require to be on site? Or is it you're just connecting straight to?
So specifically I'm referencing Meraki, which is a Cisco product, and Fortinet. Those types of hardware are built for cloud networking. And all of their configs and management is all done out of centralized data centers. As long as they've got an internet connection, you can do anything from anywhere in the world, any of those devices. I've actually been meaning to try to get some time on your calendar to talk about that. But it's phenomenal stuff. Saves tons of time, and the features in this equipment nowadays is just amazing. So basic endpoint protection, like I mentioned earlier, the one we typically recommend our customers go with is Trend Micro. It's a phenomenal product. They've been around a long time, and it's a personal preference thing, but as I'll show you later in the presentation, they are ranked the best by Gartner. So they are able to provide a service. It's called Worry-Free Business Security, and it's all hosted out in the cloud. It's phenomenal. Advanced endpoint protection, we've got two other pieces of software that we layer on top of Trend. One's called Cisco Advanced Malware Protection, and the other is called Cisco Umbrella. AMP, Advanced Malware Protection, that one uses AI and machine learning to basically detect threats real time. Every endpoint in the world that has the AMP client running on it could be a zero-day detector, the latest thing that's out there, whatever type of malware it may happen to be. And through all of its smarts, and being backed by Talos, which is probably the greatest security operation in the world, very quickly identify new threats, automatically in a lot of cases. And then last, cybersecurity as a service. The way the cyber game works, the most efficient way to deal with this stuff nowadays is to have it in the cloud. I mean, all of our tools, we're going to have some on-site stuff because we need things on your network to see what's going on and, listen for things. But all the collectors are going to be out in the cloud. And that's where we're going to do all of our analytics and our reporting and everything else. Just to have everything, out there in the cloud where it's nice and safe. So to go a little deeper on Office 365, I just wanted to show on this map here, these are all of the data center locations that they have currently. If you're an Office 365 customer, all of your data is going to be in at least two of them. Office 365 takes care of your backups and your disaster recovery. No, extra fees to do that like, other providers charge. And, as you can see, they're all over the world. And they're building more all the time. They're spending a lot of money on data centers. So some of the benefits, and the list is far longer than this, but the common theme here with cloud: no servers to buy, no software to buy, no staff to hire. Amazing. Integrated backups and DR, all of your Microsoft licensing addressed in one subscription for your entire organization. Exchange, SharePoint, the list goes on. They've got so many apps out there now. Sway, Delve, Project. Yammer is a pretty cool one. That's like having Facebook for your company. It's private to you. It's pretty slick. And then, of course, every user gets at least a 1 terabyte OneDrive. So you got a huge amount of space to go, put your documents or whatever. And if you get into the higher end enterprise plans, they go 5 terabyte or even higher, which is just a huge amount of storage space. You can install the Office software on up to 5 devices per user. If you go beyond that, or just prefer to use the web browser, you've got Office Online right there, the whole Office suite in any web browser. And last but not least, multi-factor authentication. Just in the crazy world that we live in, security is very, very important. Multi-factor, just quickly, I got a username and I got a password. That's how people access most things. Multi-factor adds a device, such as a token installed on your smartphone. So I've got to have the username, the password, and the authenticator. So somebody has to physically take that phone away from me, or RSA token or whatever else, before the username and the password is of any use to them. So it's a way to really, really lock things down. Highly recommend everyone use it. So as I was speaking about earlier, so the new Microsoft Teams, it is amazing. We use it, we love it. it replaced Skype for Business. It's actually in the process of replacing Skype for Business. But what it is it's a collaboration single pane of glass. I can do instant messaging, I can do video calls, audio calls, I can host a conference, host a meeting, everything, all in one place. And this one tool has the exact same user experience, whether it's on a smartphone, a tablet, a Surface, some other brand of laptop, or the new Hub, which you'll probably be seeing me wheel one of these in here before too long. So my Spark board, right? Well, the Hub 2, which is this screen here, it's like that, but it integrates with Microsoft Teams, which integrates with Microsoft Office, which integrates with, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you name it. So it's just really seamless experience. And, whatever device you're on, or if you're on multiple devices at the same time, you're accessible if you want to be, or you're not if you don't. Like, for example, my office machine is probably logged into Teams right now because I frequently forget to log out. I'm on the road, so my phone is definitely logged in, so I'm accessible. It's great. It's amazing. Anything you want to do in a meeting, you can do it with Teams. It's great. Throw up a whiteboard, drop some ideas. Sky's the limit. It's a really phenomenal tool. And I don't know if it's going to be an add-on or not. Like, it seems like Microsoft is still mulling that around, but it might be included with Office 365.
Does it, you mentioned like video or conferencing type stuff. Can you use it just to call people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you've got, you mean like just a normal
Just a normal phone call?
phone call?
Yeah.
Yeah. All from Teams. One application to do everything.
Okay.
Isn't that amazing?
That's cool.
It's, man, I know of at least two accounts that were like super early adopters. They were kind of like beta testers. They had a bad experience and they switched back to Skype for Business until Microsoft could work out the bugs that they encountered. But like I said, we use it, and we use it to interact with our customers, and, knock on wood, it's been phenomenal for us.
So does Skype for Business is part of Microsoft? Is Microsoft owned?
Yes, yes.
So it's wrapping into it, like you said.
Yeah, but they're separate services. I don't know what I had to do to get on early with Teams, but I don't know. Maybe it's openly available now. But yeah, Skype for Business is going to go away entirely and be replaced by Teams.
God, I hope so. I don't like Skype for this. It's difficult.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it either.
Yeah.
But if you get a chance to try out Teams, I know you'll love it.
Yeah.
And
Probably will.
Do you use something different now, Chris? Or you
No, we use Skype for Business, but when you get 100+ people on a call, people are texting messages back and forth on Skype, and they overrun each other. They don't stay sync. You lose connection. The quality isn't that good.
Yep.
Yeah.
When is that gonna happen?
It's available now, at least to a limited distribution. It may be an opt-in that's available to everybody at this point.
So how do you think that's gonna happen? Because Skype has been around a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hmm.
So do you feel like that's gonna be awkward for people that are just heavy Skype users and they're just big fans and they've been using it? Is it gonna go away and just like, okay, it's gone?
Oh, well, there will be a drop-dead date, but for a period they'll coexist. And people don't like change, but everybody I've talked to that's used it loves it. Like, there's zero learning curve. It makes sense. It works, and it's intuitive. Like, they really, really did their homework on it. Like, it's a really great tool.
Do you think that, or is it gonna be that if you have a Skype account, it's just one day gonna become a Teams account?
Yeah.
Or are they gonna
Yeah.
shut it down?
So right now, because they coexist, like, I can log into Skype for Business or Teams.
Okay.
Or if I want to be a daredevil, I can log into both at the same time and see what happens.
What's the common connection, common either phone number, URL, or IP address that we're all headed to,
Mhm.
such that it makes it easy? 10, 15 years ago, you just needed somebody's phone number.
Yeah.
Now today, do I need a URL? You know, it's a little bit messy.
Yeah.
What are we headed to?
Your guess is as good as mine.
What is Teams?
Well, what they're doing is bringing that all together onto, one unique identifier. Ultimately will be your email address.
Your email.
Yeah. So once you've got the system, you can call agross at novalisit.com. There I am.
I got my cell phone. I put in an email address.
Someday, in probably the not too distant future. Now, the whole move, as far as that's called is unified communications, trying to get everything down to that one thing. And what's the one thing everybody's got? Email address.
Does that mean you won't have a phone number, you just use an email?
I suspect it'll be similar to the way DNS works now. So like every device that's on a network or on the internet has what's called an IP address. And we're not really good at remembering numbers, so we're really good at remembering words, right? So like when you go to www.novalisit.com, there's a service called DNS that converts that word to the number. So I suspect with this unified communication stuff that's how that's going to work. It's like you're still going to have a phone number, but you won't need to give it out to anybody because there will be some sort of thing that rationalizes this to this, and yeah, and before long it'll probably be integrated with fingerprint scanners on every device now. So you just tap and you might be able to log into any device in your organization, and it's you. Just with a fingerprint.
Tattoo.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so cloud managed networking. As we discussed earlier, this is, your Wi-Fi, wireless LAN, security devices, like firewall, SD-WAN. That's a cool concept. I'll explain real quick. It's software-defined WAN. So companies with multiple sites that need to be interconnected historically have used extremely expensive links to connect those sites. So Office Key, for example, we've got the 5 locations, so you would have a circuit going between each one that, depending on how much bandwidth you want, the price could be sky high. Well, with SD-WAN, you can use your traditional business class internet that's much less expensive and create that same mesh network using software to tie those sites together over a traditional internet connection instead of using a dedicated circuit. It's awesome. And a lot of big companies have been ravenously switching from MPLS to SD-WAN. They're saving. One of my customers that we just got done converting, 4 sites in North America. They do still have a dedicated link to Europe. It's just required for them, but they're saving $6,500 a month now just on internet access. So it's great technology to save you a ton of money. Switching, that's just a basic network component. Security cameras. They're doing some really cool stuff with these cameras. One thing that I really want to harp on, because cloud is the topic here, traditional security cameras, even the expensive ones that are out there that are on, networkable and everything else, they store their data locally. So if somebody comes in and busts your camera and steals your, your VHS tape like back in the days, or, they steal your, NAS or, whatever you're recording to, they get away scot-free. We dump to the cloud. So none of that data is here. If something happens, I can go back to the cloud. And a really cool feature on the Meraki stuff, it's called Rewind. So this happens all the time. People misplace things, right? Sometimes something got stolen, sometimes it didn't. But what do we want to say when we can't find something? It's like, oh, somebody stole it. So let's say this mouse here. Let's say I lose it, but I've got a Meraki camera back there in the corner that's watching this room. Well, I can go back and say, well, I know it was there at 12:30 yesterday. So I can draw a circle around it on the video and then let it rewind to when it went missing automatically. And I can see if somebody took it or did I just knock it on the floor and it's under the desk. And pretty slick.
Like that sentence.
She lost her sunglasses there. She did that.
Or in the garage. In the garage.
Oh, down here?
Yeah, somebody took it. You're gonna get a headache wearing them.
Mobility management, just the ability to have insight into your devices as they roam around the world. Nothing too exciting about that. Just the ability to, lock down a device, encrypt a device, wipe a device, track a device. If it goes missing, you can see where the last GPS beacon was and, go find it. Insight, similar to mobility management, but it's from Meraki. And then really slick network access control. The NAC is what they call it. The best one I like right now anyway is made by Fortinet. And what this is when a device connects to your network, you've got a control in place that says you need to have this Windows patch, this Linux patch, up-to-date virus definitions, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what am I going to allow on my network? That's what this is here to control. So if a device connects that doesn't meet your criteria, it's not allowed. It's denied network access entirely until it can be brought up to that standard. It's a very simple to deploy thing that can do amazing things for any network, just keeping unwanted devices out. I mean, even a device that you think you want on the network, this is your checkpoint to make sure. Because you don't want to let somebody with 10,000 viruses on their computer hook up to your network, right?
What's a brand name in that area?
The one I like the best is Fortinet. Yeah, it's a very slick product. Yeah, I touched on this a little bit. We'll just kind of hurry through this one, but we recommend Trend. It does a lot of good things all in one package, and as you can see right here, they're in the upper right-hand corner, which is where you want to be on this particular chart. They're the leader. I utilize this as part of a suite that we put on our customers' networks, but the main things we utilize are the virus protection, some basic malware, spyware, and grayware protection, but it also helps out with some web reputation and URL filtering too. So some websites that maybe slip through the cracks, it'll keep you from being able to go there and pick something up.
Maybe it's a side question, but what's the difference between malware, spyware, and grayware?
Yeah, good question. So malware is just a generic term for anything that's going to do something, bad. It's different from a virus in that, a virus is usually made just to wreak havoc and destroy things. But a typical malware is trying to do something, whether they're trying to get some data off of your machine or they're trying to install a crypto miner on your machine or something like that. Ransomware falls under that. Spyware is stuff that's just specifically after your data. And grayware is the term for things that just fall outside of those. It's it's bad, but it's not really a virus. It's not really malware. Just a catch-all term for the stuff that's left over.
I use Trim Micro at home, and I've had it for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So, with the license you can protect 5 devices.
Yep.
It works great. I mean, I've never had it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I never had a problem either, knock on wood. But
yeah.
yeah, I've probably been using Trend for 15 years now. Yeah, Symantec has long been the king. Like that seems to be the thing most people use, but Trend is better. It's this chart is evidence to that.
Where is Symantec on there?
Symantec's here. And the axis that they're failing on is the ability to deliver. So better delivery of product by Trend. So, the solution is better. It does what it's supposed to do.
So a lot of this stuff is business and consumer. So, like
Mhm.
my business company uses Semantics. But
Okay.
you can get Trim Micro just as a consumer license.
Yeah. Trend has a business version as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all managed from a console in the cloud, so you can do all your analytics and reporting from there instead of the other solutions. That's all kind of centrally managed in your data center. So Trend was the first ones to make it out to the cloud as far as getting that. Yeah. So on top of Trend, to get to the advanced level, as I mentioned, we layer on advanced malware protection and Umbrella. Both of these tools utilize artificial intelligence and machine learning to do some really cool things real time. So AMP, that's going to be on the lookout for malware, anything that falls into that category. It has the backing of Talos, which is probably the best security desk on planet Earth. They probably 95% of the new threats, Talos finds them and resolves them first. So it's good to have that backing. But on top of that, they've got the smarts to build in this AI and ML so that some of this discovery can be automated. As I discussed earlier, every point on a network, if you've got AMP, could be, a 0-day discovery point for some brand new threat. And it automatically sends that back to Talos for examination. And, that's done automatically initially. If it requires manual intervention, they've obviously got the best people in the world there to do it. But in many cases, it happens real time. Then, boom, the whole mesh on the entire planet is now protected against this brand new threat. It's a phenomenal product. And in the off chance that you actually did get hit with something, it has a rollback feature. So let's say you did get hit with a ransomware, and before AMP detected it and stopped it, it encrypted some of your stuff. You can roll back those activities, and it was like it never happened. And Umbrella, this one's great because the biggest threat to security anywhere is a company's employees. And that's not because, they're trying to be damaging to the company. It's just, you're trying to do your job. You're not a security expert. Whatever your job is, you're just, you get an email, you click on it. It's like, let's go, check it out. Well, sometimes you get an email with a link in it that takes you to a virus. Well, Umbrella, also utilizing, this real-time discovery stuff and, backed by Talos. It's constantly scanning the internet for, new systems that are hitting the internet. Is it trustworthy? Old systems that have been, on the internet for years, because they can be compromised and, be a vector. So if a link could potentially take you somewhere that is damaging, Umbrella won't let you get there. Yeah, and yep.
Well, I think this might be appropriate in this topic. There are subscription VPN services where you, as an individual, you can pay like $2 or $3 a month.
Yeah.
Whenever you go out to the web, you're going through some type of proxy that keeps your identification private. Does that fall into this category? What do you think about those type of services?
Well, that doesn't really fall under this specifically, but that is a good topic. So everybody's worried about privacy, and that's why these things are popping up. But there's other ways you can do that. I mean, at the end of the day, with enough horsepower, it doesn't matter. Like the NSA let slip back in 2011 or 2012 that they were able to decrypt the highest level encryption at that time, real time, right off the wire, which is unbelievably scary. So
What this would say is if you're in a hotel, rather than go straight up the internet, somebody can identify your address pretty easily, come back and find you. But if you use a VPN, a subscription VPN, you're actually going out there and you are anonymous. And
Well,
find you.
anonymous. So for all intents and purposes, that's true, but the right person with the right smarts and the right tools is just as easy to, yeah. Because from you at the hotel to your VPN provider, there's data that flows just like the data from here up to the internet does. and it's kind of encapsulated like an onion. So if I can decrypt that layer and decrypt this layer, gotcha. So one of the things people do to try to combat that is there's a tool called Tor, T-O-R, and you can use that as an anonymizer, and it's free, but still the same thing. But what's nice with it is you can tell it how many layers you want on your onion. So if between me and the internet I want 50 layers, that means they've got to decrypt 50 different keys before they can figure out where I'm at, which even then can still be done. But I don't know what the answer is honestly to that for true anonymity online. It was designed for that to be impossible, so I don't know. I think we've done a pretty good job of creating some privacy, but the whole purpose of the internet is to be able to share information. So it was always intended to be wide open. Yeah, that's it. That's the only way. I tell people that all the time. They laugh at me, but it's true. It was like, how do you make a computer completely 100% secure? Pull the Ethernet cord out, turn off the Wi-Fi, get it off a network. That's the only way. How am I doing on time? I feel like I'm running long.
Just a couple minutes left.
All right. Let me go through this real quickly. So cyber is a service. It's a huge demand because the world's crazy. We've got a huge gap in the need for these people and the number of people that there are. The gap right now is estimated to be, maybe 1.5 million. They're saying within the next 4 years it's going to jump to 2.5 to maybe 3.3. So the talent's not there, right? There's a limited bucket of people that can do this work. What happens when the supply is low, when the supply is low and the demand is high? Very, very expensive. So it's building this entire industry, of managed, security services or, cyber as a service, so that you can utilize the team of people that you want, but you don't have to own them. So we share our resources with, numerous companies, and we grow the team as necessary. So 24/7 by 365 is very expensive to do. Basic startup cost to do it yourself, that's typically about $1.3 million. SMBs are the number one attack, number one target of choice. I don't know a lot of small businesses that got 1.3 million laying around to solve that problem. So what do you got to do? You got to outsource. Just to scare you a little further, the average remediation cost is about $900,000. That number's climbing because these guys are getting more and more adept at their game. 2/3 of small businesses, if they are breached, are out of business within 6 months. And an estimated 4,000 devices a day are hit with ransomware. So what makes us different as far as our service offering? Everybody else is out there offering 3 or 4 tiers. And I just looked at that and I thought it was nonsense, because I'm talking to somebody that doesn't know anything about cybersecurity. And then I'm going to present them with 3 or 4 options for cybersecurity. I think that's a disservice. And I think what they do, a lot of these guys, because they steer them towards a certain package, I don't know, I think it's more to cover their butt than to really help the customer, help the customer feel good, give them a little protection, but, So, I don't know, just the tier approach I thought was nonsense. So we have a comprehensive package. It's just, we're going to be your SOC, your Security Operations Center. You're going to outsource everything cyber to us, and you don't have to worry about it. So we put it all in one bucket. In our process, we assess. We got to come into your network. I was talking earlier about sensors. So we have to install some software and some hardware on your network so we can see what's going on, find out what's there, and that takes us to the next step, which is to remediate. We've got to find everything that's wrong, fix it, and then we go into the maintain mode, which is going to be constantly cycling through because new vulnerabilities come up, so we're constantly assessing. New fixes come out, so we're constantly remediating. Once you get to the maintenance mode, it's a nice place to be, but it's a lot of work to get there. And the acronym that we came up with for this is ARM. We're going to be your cybersecurity arm. We talked about some of this stuff earlier, but there's so many components to it. Compliance, one of the other things that we roll in, social engineering. We'll have simulated phishing attacks. We'll have simulated vishing attacks, which is they'll call you up and say, "Hey, I'm Dan, the IT guy. I need your password to get into your email." It's like, do they give it to you? Do they not? And along with that, we do awareness training. I think there's like 120 modules now, so it takes a while to get through them. We talked about multi-factor, privileged account management. So the person with the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, you need to have that account on lockdown, more so than even the others. It's a whole separate thing, ties in with multi-factor, and then patch management. And lastly, we do all of this as one package. So you don't have to worry about, am I covered for behavioral monitoring, and what is that? And I'll try to be brief, but what's normal for your network? That's behavioral monitoring. And if something that's abnormal happens, we alert on it. Like, we got to investigate. What is that? Does it belong there? Is it just as simple as a new employee, or do we have a rogue on the network? Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, I can wrap it right there.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate this. Cool.
Thanks for coming, guys. We got plenty of food here, so help yourself.